how I attach and pull handles on a large teacup. Before I began, I created these large coils using a clay extruder. They're about 1 inch in diameter. I cut them to a 3-inch length, roll them gently to make sure they're nice and round, and then tap the end, which you saw me do already, on the table to make a nice fat attachment. Then I squish the attachment to make it an oval, and now you see me scoring the attachment. Sorry, the audio is not caught up to the actions. I like to do everything in batches. So if you start by getting all your handles ready, then you score your handles, and then you score all of your teapots or whatever you're working on, that helps a lot. This is a jar of slip. It's basically vinegar and dried clay mixed up really, really nicely. So I add slip to both attachments and I really push it on there. The more you practice this, the more you'll get used to what the clay's limits are. So I like to use a strong hand and really push that attachment on there, making sure all the slip is squishing out and it's really well attached. Once that's on there and I like how it is, I will prop up the ends against something and let it sit for at least 5 minutes. So you can see all of these resting, and that just makes sure the handle is really firmly attached. My most favorite thing to use while pulling handles is a sweatband. Catches all the water so it doesn't drip down your arm, which is amazing. So get a bucket of water, and when I start pulling my handle, I start a little bit from the bottom, because the last thing you want is a thin area in the center of your handle. So I'm really just squishing the ends there. And it's just a gentle pulling motion. There's definitely many metaphors you could use. But be sure to rotate around in different directions so you're getting really even pull. And eventually, you'll see it's like it starts moving. And once you feel like it's starting to really pull and move, make sure you get the whole thing. You're doing really nice, even pulls. It's so hard to describe the process of pulling it. Hopefully you can just watch and practice. As you're working, if the clay starts twisting, you want to make sure you're turning and pulling in a new direction. You're in control of the direction the clay goes. If it's doing something you don't want it to do, you get to fix that. So here there's a bulk of clay that's still attached to the teacup, and I'm doing this little under hook there and then pulling up to give it a nice bounce, and then pulling it down to where I want it to attach, making sure that it's nice and straight. And then I'm just going to press it into the teacup and use my 2 fingers to remove the excess clay. I did not score on that bottom area, and I've never had a handle come off. Definitely score and slip the top, but that bottom area, if you just smooth it right on there, I find it sticks. You might not. Then I can use this time to really round out the handle. You can stretch the handle a little bit more at this time to get it into the shape that you want. At this point, the slip will have kind of settled, and you can start removing all the excess slip, smoothing out with a sponge, just making sure everything looks nice and neat. And definitely tidy up anything you notice, because it will only look worse later. Here I'm doing another teacup. I think it's not just a pulling motion. It's also there's a squeeze. It's a gentle squeeze, and then you're gently pulling. And you also want to use very light pressure. If you do anything too quickly, you're going to end up with these indents that later just like come right off and uneven spots. So go slowly. It's better to take your time with this and get a feel for it. Up, you can see I'm fixing the area where it attaches. Again, if you see twisting, really use your fingers to correct the origin of the handle. And that will help create a nice, firm, even base to work with, to pull from. Be sure you are constantly wetting your hands. You never want the clay to get caught on your slightly dry fingers. This requires a lot of water. I don't normally dip the handle. I like to keep my hand wet. So I normally just kind of scoop up the water on my hand and use that. And again, like putting that indent in there, pulling and getting that spring action before looping it around and removing the excess clay at the bottom, cleaning up the handle. That's about that. I hope this helps a little bit. The only thing that is really going to help is just mileage. Just pull as many handles as you can. Throw out the cup if it doesn't look good. Start over. It's no big deal. It's just clay. All right. Have a great day.